Good morning, good afternoon, and konbanwa. Welcome to the classroom. Woo! Professor Kamishiro is ready to start the lecture. Come on, sit down, find a seat. Open seating. There's no seating chart or anything. Hope you brought your notebook, your pens and pencils, your laptops, whatever you need. Because I don't know if I'll ever be a professor, but I can certainly try to be a professor today. You forgot your pen. Well, maybe ask your seat partner if they brought a writing utensil, and just remember to bring one next time. Oh my gosh, you brought an open mind. See, that's all you need, really. An open mind and a willingness to learn. For those who don't know what we're going to be learning today, I'll give a little bit of a brief background as to why we're doing this specific, I guess, topic, and then I'll start diving into music theory. So if you're new here, you may not know I'm a huge fan of music. I love music. I've played viola since, gosh, like middle school age. Yeah, probably like 10 years old. Probably, I think is when I started the viola. I played it like in school. So I wasn't like, I wasn't the next big prodigy or anything. But I was classically trained for a little bit. And I took theory for about a year in school. I learned it in school for about a year. It was kind of those like, fun learning things. So, I'm not super knowledgeable, but it's something I'm really passionate about. I've brought it up a lot in other streams. I've kind of explained random topics here and there when it comes to music theory. So I thought I'd do a stream about music theory. Are we learning about notes? We're going to be learning about notes, and you are more than welcome to take notes on those notes. This stream has been a long time coming. I'm really excited. For those who don't know what music theory is, you may know what music is, but maybe you don't understand what theory is. Music theory is basically a practice, I guess a language that musicians, composers, etc. use to talk about the language of music. Just like you would learn another language like Japanese or English or Spanish, you would go to a class to learn those languages to kind of put things together. Music theory, well, you don't need a class, right? You can grow up being taught how to play an instrument or listen to music or sing. Music theory kind of gives you the understanding of how you piece everything together. So that's how I like to learn music, I guess, explain music theory. You don't need to know theory to be a musician, like how you don't need to go to a class to learn a language, to know a language and speak it. But it's very helpful to understand why things work together or, how to put things together. So that's the basics of what music theory is. And we're going to dive in kind of into like a basic, very basic. So if you're coming in here to talk about, I guess, 12-tone rows or something. I don't know. Whatever the case, it's going to be very basic stuff. Nothing super crazy. We're not going to talk about cadences, and we're not going to dive into music history. As cool as music history is, I love music history. We can talk about nooms another day. But, feel free to ask any questions if you're also a beginner when it comes to theory. And I'll do my best. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so it's basically, like Petzo said, it's kind of breaking music down like a science. And I like to say, for me, music theory was a way for me to, as someone who had already played music for a long time, it was a way for me to understand the rules so then I could break them if I ever wanted to make my own music, right? It just gave me fun ideas for how I can explore music in new ways. And also it helped me with my playing as well as a musician. But a couple other things I want to talk about today so you know what to expect. We're going to talk about pitch. We're going to talk about scales. So in that case, we're also going to talk about staffs, clefs. We're going to talk about key signatures, time signatures, rhythm, meter, and maybe a couple of expressive elements like pianissimo or fortissimo. And I also have a couple of, audio samples and sheet music for us to look at, because I think when it comes to music theory, you have to listen to music. You have to appreciate, what it is you're studying about. So throughout today's, or maybe we can start off with it to kind of pique your interest. I don't really have a lesson plan. I literally just wrote down a couple of things I wanted to talk about, like a bullet point list, and I'll go from there. So I guess we can start off by piquing your interest. So raise your hand. Do we have any anime fans? I think that's kind of a silly question, but raise your hand if you're an anime fan. That's something I can relate to. I can definitely relate to there. Best plan is no plan. We're just here to have fun and learn something new. Okay, looks like we do. Anime fans, we're here. Yes, I see we do have a lot of fans of anime. Anybody watched Your Lie in April? I think that's a better question. If you've seen Your Lie in April, I don't know. Let me know what was your favorite part about it. No! Why God, no. It's really good. I liked it. As a violist, I really enjoyed it. Oh my goodness. Yes, so if you haven't watched Your Lie in April, I highly recommend it. It made me cry. And I really appreciated it as a musician. So my first example for a piece that I have brought to you all today, and I'll reference again throughout the lesson. Is that what you would call it? Is this tutoring? Is this a lesson? Is a song that appeared in the anime. And a lot of the songs in the anime, a lot of the pieces in the anime, I've experienced already in my life. This one specifically, I used to be in a quartet with other, teens my age back when I used to really play, viola. And our first violinist, she was an amazing violinist. And she performed this song, I think it was for a competition. So to hear it in an anime was so amazing. It's really funny because they're both blonde. So I was watching the anime and I thought, oh my gosh, this is her. It's so, I showed it to her. I said, look, you're in an anime. But this is the introduction and rondo capriccioso, I believe that's how you say it. This is by Camille, pardon my French, not in that way. I don't know how to pronounce things in French well. Camille Saint-Saëns? And he is a composer, an organist, a pianist, and a conductor, I believe. So I'm gonna show you all kind of what music looks like. I'm gonna kind of start from the very beginning. I'm assuming some of you all haven't seen what sheet music looks like. It's almost kind of like reading a book, right? So you learn a language, you know how to read words, and you can read them out loud. Sheet music is similar in that the notes that you see on the page are the words. And you read the words and you use those to sing or play an instrument, whatever the case. So I'm gonna show you the sheet music if you want to follow along, and I'm gonna play the song for you all. I love music, so I'm really excited to show this to you all. Let's see. Oh, very, very intimidating, I know. So this is the conductor's score, and what a conductor's score looks like is it's all of the pieces together. And I know this looks really confusing for those who don't know music. This is kind of just an introductory. I'll jump into all the tiny bits and pieces, but I want you to kind of have context into what we're talking about. And I guess an interest. Let me turn my BGM off, and I want you all to listen along. And what you can follow is the principal violinist. You see how there's a lot of really, I guess, fancy notes. It starts to look really confusing. Let me show you my cursor. Can you see my cursor? I'm not sure. Okay. There's a lot of stuff going on at that top line. Do you see that? That's going to be the soloist. It's every instrument, yes. It is every instrument. So this is, I think this is in, French? But it has flutes. What is this? Hout boys. I don't know what that is. Clarinets, bassoons, trumpets. There's the violins right here. Oh, you can see my cursor. Violins right here. Not violins. Violins. This is the violins, first and second. Violas, or the altos. Cello and bass. And again, like I said, we'll come back to it. I'll explain the little tidbits. But here's some context. I'll go ahead and play the introduction and Rondo Capriccioso. This is a piece performed by the Miss Sujin Han. And this is Creative Commons, so no need to worry about DMCA or anything. I'm able to play this. So here we go. Wait, let me see. Okay, here we go. I just had to adjust the volume. Here we go. We're right here. I'll follow along with my cursor. It's like karaoke. It's just like Your Line, April. Oh wait, don't worry, it gets faster. I'll wait till it gets faster. Oh, here we go. I'll finish this phrase. We're somewhere in this run. All right. Exciting! So you might either be, following along thinking, oh, this is so cool, or you might be completely confused, and that's okay. And that's why we are having this lesson. So like how I said earlier, like how you read a book with words and you can read something aloud, that violinist was looking at this music and reading the words, I guess, the notes you have on this page and turning that into music. So let me go ahead and close that. Now we're going to start learning how to read the language of music. This is so exciting. And if you have any questions, let us know in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to let you know. But the first thing we're going to start off with is pitch. Let me write that down. Pitch. I'm not going to write too much down. My handwriting is pretty bad. I'll write down the words so you can see it. So what is pitch? Essentially, it's the quality of a note, right? Like la, I just sang a note. And it's determined by how high or how low a sound is, right? So low pitch is like this, ba, and high pitch is like this, ba. That's what pitch is, how high or how low your note is. Any questions there? Ba, ba, ba. Mm-hmm. How long does it take to learn music theory? I don't think it takes too long. I mean, it depends on how much you want to know about music theory. If you want to just learn the basics, I don't think it should take too long. It does take a while to remember everything. And you can dive into the science. I'm not going to dive too much into the science. I'm not going to talk about frequencies and 440 hertz and things like that. I'm going to kind of talk about a very, practical idea of music theory. So that's what pitch is, how high or low a sound is. And to understand what pitch a note is supposed to be, you have to read notes on a staff. A pitch is a certain position on a staff. And what a staff is what you write your notes on. It's kind of like an axis, right? Like, let's say you're talking about math. You have an X or Y axis. Your axis is, kind of what you put your notes on. I'm not really good at explaining this, but to show you what I mean, so I don't have to just draw it. A staff are these 5 lines. I'm going to zoom in. These 5 lines. Let me see if I can find an empty one. Ignore that this one has a rest in it, but a staff are these 5 lines. Let me actually go like this for you all. It's these I need like a red or something. Yeah, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's your staff. How does pitch interact with treble and bass? That's a great question. I'll go ahead and talk about that when we talk about clefs. But for now, this is a staff. It is 5 lines, 4 spaces, and you place notes on this staff to be able to figure out what the notes are. So this itself is a staff, but sometimes you have a combination of 2 staffs. Instruments that have a wider range, like a piano, might have 2 staffs. You can only read sheet music with every good boy deserves fruit. That's okay. That's a good mnemonic. That's more than nothing. That's for sure. So a grand staff is a combination of these 2 staffs. You can actually see it on this one right here. Well, I guess I can just go like this. Sometimes staffs will be connected like that to show you that one instrument is playing 2, if that makes sense. But yeah, that is a staff, and you place notes on the staff to figure out what the notes are. So let me erase all of this red stuff, and I can take away the difficult sheet music, and I can show you normally what a staff looks like. Okay, here we go. This is gonna be fun because I'm not really good at drawing straight lines. Oop. Let's see. 1, 2. I should probably make another layer so I can draw different stuff on the staff. Here we go. 1, 2. Oh gosh. 3, 4, 5. And you place your notes on this staff. And for all intents and purposes, I'm going to go ahead and just use a quarter note. We're going to do a quarter note. Doop. So this is essentially saying you want to play a note that's this pitch. And then if you want to go higher, it'll go somewhere above, like here or here even. Anywhere above this one will be a higher pitch. And that's how you read. So anywhere up this staff, you're going a higher pitch. And if a note's going lower in this staff, it's a lower pitch. Mm-hmm. Any questions? Oh my gosh. So another real world example. Let's go ahead and pull up this sheet music again. You see how this note is on this line and then the next note is above? That's showing that the pitch is going up. Yoop. And then similarly, you have this collection of notes here that is moving up in pitch. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Why is it called a quarter note? I'll go ahead and head into that in a later section when we get into rhythm. But for now, we're talking about pitch. So if it's going up the staff, it's higher pitch. Now, there are a lot of notes that exist, right? There's and this staff only has 5 lines. So you might be wondering, how are we supposed to talk about the entire range of notes that could possibly exist? So before we talk about clefs, I want to talk about note names, pitch names. So there is, oh gosh, now we're going to get a little bit, I'm trying to figure out how I can talk about this without getting into the science of like frequencies and things like that. But, oh gosh, should I do clefs? I'll talk about clefs first. So in order to kind of move up and down this range of notes that possibly exists, but you only have 5 lines. You have to, I guess, use what I like to call almost like a magnifying glass. These are things called clefs. So if you could imagine the entire range of notes that can ever exist is represented by this bar, I guess. And the lowest of the lowest note is here. Oh, I guess you can't read that. Oh my gosh. The lowest of the lowest note to ever be able to exist Oh my gosh. I'm trying to use blue chalk. It's ever so slightly not blue, but that's okay. The lowest of the lowest ever note that can exist is down here. And the highest of the highest ever note can exist here. What clefs do is they kind of tell you which segment of this bar or this range that you're looking at. So let's say these 5 lines can only show you this much of the ranges that can exist. You put a little symbol at the front of this, and you're going to have to excuse me. I'm not really good at drawing clefs except for alto clef. There's a symbol at the beginning of the staff that tells you which segment you're looking at. Does that make sense? I'm not a teacher at all. This is just me trying to teach, I don't know, things that I've learned just by playing an instrument. So the highest, there's obviously more clefs. There's different kinds of treble clefs. There are different kinds of bass clefs. But to keep things simple, we're going to look at 3 magnifying glasses. And I say 3 because as a violist, I have to include alto clef. We're going to look at 3 different magnifying glasses. And the first magnifying glass shows us the higher part of this range of possible notes. And that is treble clef. I'll show you what that looks like. Oh, Stefan, thank you so much for the super chat. As a music theory professor, thank you for your services to public music theory. Of course, I love music. I love classical music. So this is I'm really excited to talk about this. Thank you. I hope I'm doing okay. Let's see. I'm going to attempt to draw a clef. Now, don't laugh if it looks bad. There are some atrocious treble clefs out there, and some of them are by very good composers. Human ear lower range? No, so this is the range, I guess, with all... sorry. Human ear range, not like vocal range, but, instruments that are really, really low use staffs. They just have a different clefs, but then you have like really, really high instruments. And they all use staffs. Well, then there's also like rhythm staffs. But we're not going to get into that. Oh my gosh. And let me know if you have any questions. Do put a question mark at the end of your question if you have one. It focuses my eye better so I can see it. Okay. So I'm going to make an attempt to draw a treble clef. Don't laugh. That's kind of what a treble clef looks like. And the treble clef tells you that you're looking at the highest notes in this range. I guess higher notes in that range. I've seen, hold on. I'll show you what some really bad treble clefs look like. Let's see. Let's see. Oh my gosh. So Beethoven would write his treble clefs like this. Oh wait, hold on. Like that. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm looking at more pictures of different. So, Schubert's Haydn's looked like this. Oh gosh. I do like the round ones. Like Brahms, it looks like the Disney, like... I mean, sometimes whenever I did like theory homework, I would just go like this. I would write a letter 3 for alto clef. And then I think bass clef is the easiest. But anyway, I'm going to go back to my treble clef. Oh no, where'd it go? I drew it so well. But this is a treble clef, and it represents... Oh, where's my mouse? It represents the highest notes that we can play. I know it looks bad. You're just going to have to squint. So that's the highest here. It's called treble clef. Let me write that out for you. Not trouble, but treble clef. Is there a right way to draw them? Yes. So people know what... You really just have to get the form right. Does it have to be perfect? A lot of people use digital software to write music, so you don't have to worry about it usually. But if you do use pen and paper to write your music, then it does matter that it looks a little bit like it. But yes, this is treble clef. This is going to be the higher notes. And to kind of show how the magnifying glass shifts our staff up and down this range of notes, I'm going to give you a reference note. And it's called middle C. Middle C is the note that's in the middle of this range, I guess. But in order to tell you about middle C with a treble clef, I need to tell you about ledger lines. So if you are playing an instrument that has a pretty wide range, viola in this case, uses multiple clefs, it would be really odd to keep switching between clefs if you wanted to, say, be between these two ranges. Because viola can go a little bit of a wider range than this that you see on this staff right here. So instead of always shifting between clefs in a piece of music, that would be really confusing because you kind of have to shift your frame of mind. We have these things called ledger lines. And I'm going to place a note on this staff. We have a note right here. And let's say you want to go a little bit lower than the staff, but you don't want to switch clefs. So the lowest you can go on this without using ledger lines is this. But you want to go one note lower. But you don't want to switch to a whole new clef just to do one note. We have what's called a ledger line. I'll write that for you. Ledger line. Ledger line. And what a ledger line does is it extends your staff ever so slightly. And you can technically have as many ledger lines as you want. There isn't like a maximum amount of ledger lines that you want. If you want to go this many below, that's fine. I mean, if it's only for a couple, that's okay. The etiquette is if you're going to be using ledger lines for a long time, you might want to consider using a new clef. But if it's only for a couple of notes, if it's a measure or less, then you're fine to use ledger lines. Ledger lines can go below the staff, or they can go above the staff, like that. And they can go as high or as low as you want, within reason. Right, exactly. The maximum amount of ledger lines is defined by how much space you have on your paper. That's right. So if you want to go above and below this range that the staff has, but you don't want to switch your magnifying glass, right, your frame of reference, then you can use ledger lines. But back to what I was talking about, I'm going to give you a reference note so that when we start moving up and down this range that we have, you can kind of see how this frame of reference is changed. So let me erase these for you. And I'm going to give you a note called middle C. And you'll have to forgive me. As a violist, I don't do too much. I do a little bit of time in treble clef and barely any time in bass clef. So if I get something wrong, do correct me. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Middle C on treble is one ledger line below. And I'm going to do this in red. Whoa, so you can see our reference note. This is middle C. Middle C. Yo. And we're going to go one clef below. This isn't a very common clef, but I'm going to talk about it because as a violist, I really want to talk about it. This is... Let me actually put a measure line to show that we've changed over to something else. This is a alto clef, or at least this is how I draw alto clefs. Again, I showed you all what different treble clefs could look like, but this is how I draw a alto clef. So the two lines like this, and then like a 3, essentially. If you wanted to, well, let me try to do it a little bit better. It's like this, like that. Simply put, you can just draw it like this. But it's like an 1, 1, 3. Oh my gosh. And middle C sits right here. Yeah. Right here. So if we were to put it on this little chart here, this is where middle C would be. It's like It's like a :3. Exactly. So you can kind of guess where on the let's do some guesses. Where do you think on the staff the bass clef is going to be? The middle C on bass clef. Is the middle C going to be higher in the staff, in the middle of the staff, or in the lower part of the staff? What do you think? While I draw out the bass clef. So it'll be lower in the range, yes. It's going to be this lower part of the range. But where do you think middle C is going to be placed? So here we have on treble clef, middle C is on the lower part of the staff, since we are in the higher range. In the middle range, in the alto clef, the middle C is right smack dab in the middle. But middle C on the bass clef is going to be higher on the staff than the other notes. Now, let's see. A, C, E, G, right? A, C, E, G. This goes to show how I don't use bass clef. A, B, C, F, G, A, B, C. So it is on a ledger line. So one ledger line above. And the reason why it's so high up the staff is because the bass clef focuses on notes that are lower. So it'll focus on notes that are lower than middle C. And that's why there's more space below middle C. So, any questions? That's right. Each clef encompasses, if you look at the picture on the right, if this long rectangle is the entirety of notes that we can use, the whole range of notes that we can play, treble is going to be the window to the highest notes. That's treble clef right here. Alto clef is going to be the window to the middle notes, which is this middle one we have here. And that's where we find middle C smack dab in the middle. So I guess my picture is kind of bad. It's like this. It's more like that, if anything. Yeah. Because they all have middle C in there somewhere. Oh, now my picture on the right is getting kind of weird. They do overlap. That's right. And there's a bunch of other clefs. I'm not going to really talk about them too much since they don't really come up in common music. If you have an instrument that uses it, then that's probably why. I know violas use treble and alto clef. As a violist, I would know. So I think this is the F clef because the two dots are around the F. But I don't know what the other, I guess, bass clefs there are. If you're a trumpet, for instance, you'll barely ever play in bass, so why waste the space? Yeah, so you have the clef that works for you. I'm going to preface by saying I'm not going to talk about concert pitch. I don't really fully understand. I don't understand instruments that transpose, the sheet music that they have on. It's a very interesting phenomenon. Oh my gosh, when we get to the key signatures conversation, I'll talk a little bit about it when I bring up the sheet music again. Concert pitch is a totally different lesson. But I see there's a couple of band folks out there. So that is not something we're going to be talking about today. It confuses me to no end. As a violist. Oh my gosh. So those are the three most common. And there's a bunch of other common clefs. You can move around up and down the staff so that they mean different things. But these are your most common, I guess, magnifying glasses. So let's talk about, let's focus on treble clef. I think for the rest of this lesson, we'll talk about treble clef. Any questions for what we have so far? Which one is common for the piano? So 2. Because the piano has such a wide range, the piano utilizes what's called a grand staff. And it's basically 2 of these mixed together. Because you have 2 hands and you have a huge range to use. So there's a lot of notes you can play at the same time. So they basically use 2 of these staffs. I'll show you. Let me pull up some sheet music. So this one doesn't have piano in it, unfortunately. But I'm going to kind of use something as an example. I wonder if we can find it. Here we go. So the reason why these two have brackets around them is because I think they're both the same instrument. Yeah. Yeah, so this is violin 1 and violin 2, but I'm going to just use them for an example. So normally, with a piano, it has treble clef on the top, and it has, oh gosh, it has bass clef on the bottom. So I'm going to have to draw that out like this. I'm going to replace it. Oh, I'm on eraser. Like this. You boop boop. And then it's connected by this line, this bracket that goes like that. And you're basically working with two staffs the entire time. So those are the two that the piano uses a lot. Alto clef doesn't make sense because alto clef is just right in the middle of them. So if you have two already, you don't need a third. If that makes sense. Oh my gosh. Do pianists ever dabble with alto? I don't know. I'm not sure any pianists out there I don't think I've seen piano score with alto clef before. Each symbol is very important, and we'll revisit this song, and then two other songs I prepared at the end of the stream, and we can talk about things that we've learned. So that is pitch. Let's see. Or the clefs. There's more about pitch that we need to talk about. Where's my staff? Here we go. So let's work with our treble clef. Now, we have to obviously give, I guess, words or ways to refer to the notes. So let me write this down. Another treble clef. Oh, here we go. Every time I draw a treble clef, I always have to focus. Each pitch has a name. I mentioned earlier, this is middle C. C is the name of the note. C is the pitch of the note, sorry. So right here, it's only called middle C because that's the C that's in the middle of the range. But this is a C. And we have what's called a scale. Oh my gosh, I hope I'm saying this right. So in a scale, in a musical scale, it's basically 8 notes. Dum bum 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 bum, like that. And each note in this scale has a name, and we use letters. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Yeah, music theory is so fun, but it's so confusing. And we're not going to talk about sharps and flats just yet. We're gonna stay in this key of C. So middle C is right here. So obviously by... Hello, Nick! Welcome! Are you here to learn some music theory? One of my fellow musician friends is here. You ready to learn music theory? You don't know how to read music? I don't know if I'm going to be much help. We talked about pitch. And currently we're talking about scales. So it's, like I said, a scale is an arrangement of notes in an octave. We call an octave this whole range of notes that we use. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Those are the 8 notes that we use in Western music. And that is considered an octave. 8, right. So you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I don't have perfect pitch, so if I try to sing something and call it an A, but it's not, that's why. That's why. So there are also, do I talk about scale degrees? Gosh, we're not going to talk about scale degrees. We're not going to talk about that. I feel like maybe that's a little bit too much in an introductory music theory class. So for now, we're just going to talk about an octave. You may have heard, higher, like I can sing a higher octave or I can sing a low octave. It's because these notes repeat. So middle C right here, you have C, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Wait a minute. There's more of the staff to use, but we've already used up all of our letters that direction. You can go down, sure. But this is C, right? Middle C. B, A. Uh-oh. What are we going to do? This is only one octave. And if you want to go higher, you have to repeat your octave. So after G, it's A. and so on and so forth. But in order to differentiate between this octave and the octave that we just started, right? Because you're going to go A, B, C, D. No panic. Wait a minute. Who are you? Oh my gosh. I'll tell you all the names of scale degrees, but I don't think we need to know about them. Because we're not talking about like cadences and things like that, resolving notes from like a dominant to a tonic. I'll tell you all what they are, but we're not going to dive into that. Oh my gosh. So you might be wondering, how are we going to differentiate an A here versus an A down here? Well, in addition to letters, we also add numbers to them. So usually when you're playing music, when you're like a coach or something, or your director says, "Can everyone play an A?" They're not going to say, "Can everyone play like an A4?" Because some musicians can't play that high or that low, whatever the case. So, sometimes they'll just be like, "Can you play an A?" And that should be fine. But if you want to differentiate between certain notes on a staff, you can also use numbers. So, middle C, I'll talk about middle C. Right here. This middle C is C4, not like the explosive. Oh my gosh. Here we go. And be careful not to, I guess, is there such thing as backseating in lessons? Helpful notes are more than welcome, but I'll do my best to kind of keep a pace in today's lesson. You have to memorize all this? I don't know. I feel like over time you kind of just remember. But you can't remember it all at once. But yes, it is important to remember which ones are like, oh, this is an A right here. We can talk about mnemonics in a little bit to help you remember. But yes, so we use numbers as well to indicate which octave we're talking about. So with this, oh, sorry. Oh my gosh, wrong one. That's A4 or A3. When did let me look at when the numbers start over. I think that would be A4. Oh, do they restart at the C? Hold on, let me fact check myself. Oh my gosh, let's see. Okay, so it is C. Okay. So the numbering starts over on C. So this is C4. And the next one would be D4, E4, etc., up until this high G in the octave. And then we start over. Oh, wait, sorry. We start over at the next C. Gosh. Here we go. So this is, I guess, the 4 range. I don't know if this would all be 4s, and then everything below that would have a 3 underneath it. So E4, F4, G4, A4, B4, and then we have 5s. So I guess I should close this brackets. And then C5 somewhere. It's actually this one. So that's how you can differentiate between the different octaves. But an octave is basically this set of letters. Yeah. And for those who want to know, you may have heard something about eating fudge sort of thing. We have mnemonics for people to remember. Oh gosh, let me see. For people to remember the note names. The really popular one is every good boy deserves fudge. And the reason why is because those are the lines. The lines are every good boy deserves fudge. Yeah, that's the one I use. There's also every good boy does fine. I don't know what the other ones are. And then the spaces fell out face. So that's a fun way to remember them. And then the ones for bass clef are different. I think a lot of people use good boys do fine always. Yeah. And then for the spaces, all cows eat grass. But for treble clef, this is how people tend to remember the notes on a treble clef. So we talked about pitch, we talked about staves, we talked about clefs. Let's talk about scales. Oh my gosh, do you think we can do that? Let's see. Why not? So we talked about how a scale is basically an arrangement of notes. Any 8 notes. It could start with an A, but it could also start with like a C or maybe a B. And every scale has its own name. This is going to be okay, hold on. Do I have the ability to teach scales? I'm thinking. Oh my gosh. I guess we should talk about sharps and flats first. So let's scrap the I guess scales conversation for now, because I don't know if I can handle talking about scales just yet. Let's talk about sharps and flats. So you've probably seen this symbol before. It's like a hashtag. And then you've probably seen the flat symbol. It's like a letter B. You may have even seen the double sharp or the double flat. Maybe if you're an Idolist 7 fan. Oh my gosh. But these have names. Accidentals? Is there a scientific way of how to refer to them? I call them accidentals, and you use these to adjust a note to go higher or lower. So we're going to talk about the C major scale, and it starts on a C, so I guess we can go with ledger lines. Let me see if I can... Do you all mind if I grab my viola real quickly? I'll be right back. I have to go to the other room and get my viola. BRB. Okay, I am back. Did you all miss me? Yeah, I'm a viola player. I've been playing since I was a little one. I'm not as good as I used to be, but I still love the viola. So, oh my gosh. So C. Oh my gosh, I can do a scale. C major is an easy scale to do. So, did you hear that? Yes, this is my viola, Sebastian. Everyone say hi. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Oh gosh. Oh. We're not doing sharps just... Well, we're about to talk about sharps. I did one just there. So, that's an arrangement of notes. That is a major scale. And I'll talk about the difference between major scales and minor scales in a moment. But a C major scale, that's the one I just played. Where's my pen? Uh-oh. Where's my pen? Here it is. Okay. Starts on a C and ends on a C. Right? Because that's an octave. That last note was just a repeat of the first one. So dum bum 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 bum. Sorry for my bad handwriting. That's an A. Wait, hold on. Yes, okay. B and C. I guess, should I talk about semitones? Oh my gosh. So, a major scale, whether you start it on A or B or C, it has a certain number of spaces between notes. Oh gosh, here we go. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to... or you can call them a half step, or... I usually call them half steps. I don't know why I guess I said it in the very scientific way, a semitone, a half step. So a major scale, you can start it on any note, but in this case, I'm starting it on a C. And then going from a C to a D, the note D, and it could be C4 to D4, it could be C3 to D3, whatever the case. There's actually, is it 2 steps? 2 half steps? Okay, so you might be wondering, wait a minute. We're going from a line to a space. Why are there 2 is there two spaces? Why are there two nudges in between? That's just how it works. Because in a C major scale, it's written like this. Right? A, B, C. And letters in the alphabet are also like this too. But unfortunately, you can't, there's a lot more, I guess, there's a lot more notes in an octave, right? Than just 8. So in order to get all of these notes without getting more letters, is you use these things called accidentals. What's the more scientific way of saying accidentals? Is that the scientific term? To adjust your pitch. So in between C and D, there's actually another note. So this is C, and this is D. I know that there's like a hand thing that teaches you like which ones have whole steps and half steps between them, but I forgot what it was. So this is C, and this is D. But there's actually a note in between. Like that. Oh. Whoa. So how we can show that is there's two ways. A sharp brings a note a half step up, and a flat brings a note a half step down. So that note in between the C and the D actually has two ways to be referred to. And there's two ways to write it. So there's a note between C and D, and you can use either sharp or flat to write it. The first way you can write it is as a change from the C. And to change the C into something a little bit higher, you use the sharp. And it's going to look like this. And that's how you nudge a note a little bit higher. The other way you can write it is to nudge a note a little bit more, a little bit down. And that's what you use the flats for. Like that. So now these two are the same note. Those two would sound the same. They would sound like this. And you might be wondering, why have two ways to write a note? That sounds a little bit redundant. But when we start getting into the conversation of key signatures, then you'll know why. Because there's a more correct way to refer to a note with the context of a key signature. But for now, all you need to know is that they are the same, I guess. They're the same note. Anyway, continuing on. So we have C, C sharp, D, E. Is it E flat? My theory is so bad. Yeah, okay. So then we have E flat. Oh, how do you all show? So I show half steps whenever I write music like this. Oh, I guess I can show you which ones have whole steps. Hold on. Fun fact, fun little tip. Well, a tip? I guess it's something that I do. Sometimes when I'm reading music and I keep making a mistake, like I keep thinking that a note is sharp or a note is flat, I remind myself like, oh, this is actually a half step up from the note you just played, or this is a whole step up from the note that you just played. Now, a whole step, I didn't explain that, is 2 half steps. So 2 little steps up the chromatic scale. Oh, I didn't even explain what a chromatic scale is. So, oh gosh, there's so much I need to say. Oh my gosh, how teachers do it, I have no clue. So a whole step means that there's 2 notes in between. So between C and D, there's 2 notes like this. C, C sharp, D, or C, D flat, D. And then we go into another whole step. I'm doing this all from memory. Because now a lot of it has bled into muscle memory. So, yes. So this D to E is a whole step. E to F is a half step. Yes. And then we have another 3 whole steps. 1, 2, 3. And the last one is a half step. And that is what makes a major scale. Is this pattern of whole step, half step, whole step, half step. So if you were to start on A, so I'll write it out for you all, and then you can kind of exercise with me. Let's talk about an A major scale. Let's write out an A major scale together. And so an A major scale, that letter tells you what the scale starts on. So if we're going with this whole step, half step, whole step, half step, you're going to start with an A, letter A, and we're going to go up a whole step. Now, between A and B, there is another note. I guess I'll dictate it in terms of a chromatic scale. Chromatic scale means we're going up each and every half step. A regular scale doesn't do that, but a chromatic scale looks like this. A sharp, or B flat. Let me write out the entire chromatic scale. So we're all on the same page. And then a B. Let me do commas. And then we have a C. Right? There's no, you could technically say B sharp depending on the contents of the key signature, but that would just be a C. And then C sharp or D flat. And then we have a D. And then a D sharp or E flat. And then we have an E. Yeah, because in my mind, I think of like B sharp, and I think that's wrong. That's not quite right. So then there's an E, then there's an E sharp, F flat, and then there's an F, and then there's an F sharp, and a G flat, and then a G, and then a G sharp. Oh gosh, G sharp, A flat. So this is the chromatic scale. So these are all the notes that exist in Western music. So instead of going, you're hitting every note in between as well. Right, like that. So that's what a chromatic scale is. It's all the possible notes in Western music. And I say in Western music because there's also like, I've talked about this in a different music theory tangent stream where there's like oh gosh, hold on. Is it something microtonality? That's what it's called. We talked about microtonality in a different stream. That's what led to this stream. Microtonality doesn't really exist normally in Western music. I think microtonal music exists a lot in, let me see, microtonality in, let's see. Where do we see microtonality? You say it's bad intonation. I say it's microtonality, okay? If anyone tries to make fun of your intonation, just tell them it's microtonality. You would understand. Oh my gosh. So if you could imagine a keyboard, right? You go click, you hit all the notes on the keyboard all the way up. If you could imagine a new keys in between each key, that would be similar to microtonality. So in Western music, we're going to disregard microtonality because it's a little bit more advanced than the beginner music theory stream. These are all the notes you can play with. So we're going to create a major scale. Major meaning it has this sort of pattern of whole step, half step. Whole step, half step. That creates a major scale. And we'll talk about minor scales in a little bit. But if we were to create an A major scale together, let's go ahead and look at our little chromatic scale for some help. So in order to get that next note, we have to go up 2 half steps, a whole step. Let me go ahead and also write that down for you. This is a whole step, and this is a half step. Okay. So whole step means 2 half steps. So we're at A, 1, 2. So we have a B. Cool. And then we're going to go up another 2. 1, 2. So now we have C sharp and D flat. But which one do we use? We just use whatever's next in the alphabet. So A, B, we have C sharp. And now we go up a half step from C sharp. We go up to the next one, which is D. We go up a whole step, 1, 2, we have an E. Then we have a whole step, 1, 2, we have an F sharp. Wait, hold on. Wait, where am I? I lost track. Okay. A, B, C, D. Oh, sorry. Yes, okay. A, B, C, D, E. It should be F sharp next. Yeah. Oh, wait. Hold on. This doesn't exist. Well, it does exist. E sharp does exist, but not like in regular music. You would just refer to it as an F. Well, again, it depends on the context of the key signature. So 1, 2, hold on. 1 is E, and then 1, 2, which is F sharp. Sorry, I just happen to know A major off the top of my head. So when I was doing the things and it landed on F flat, I was like, wait a minute, that's not right. It should be an F sharp. Okay, E to F sharp. I have a couple of like scales in my back pocket. If it has like 5 sharps or 5 flats, I'm not gonna remember. I don't remember off the top of my head what the name is, but I remember like what G major is, what C major is, etc. So anyway, E, F sharp, and then we're gonna go up to 1. Oh, hold on. Wait, where am I? E, F sharp. It should be G sharp. Yes. 1, 2. Yeah, 1, 2. Okay, cool. I can count. Super cool. And then a half step back to A. Cool. So that's a major scale. Now you might be wondering if there's a major scale, that would imply the existence of a minor scale. So we're going to talk about minor scales now. Let me erase all this. So keeping in mind that a major scale is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, there's a couple of changes in the scale that make it a minor. So we're going to talk about A minor scale. The reason being is it's very similar to C major. No sharps, no flats. It just starts in a different place. So I'm going to keep up the chromatic scale so you all can reference it. And I'm going to write out A major. So we're going to erase that. All of this, we're going to erase it. And I like to talk about, I guess, the emotion behind a scale. Major scales are the happy sounding scales. What about a lieutenant scale? Oh my gosh. Do we cover circle of fifths? I was thinking of covering circle of fifths, but sometimes I don't even understand circle of fifths. But that's okay. I only use circle of fifths when I'm talking about key signatures, but even then I memorize the order of sharps and the order of flats. So, anyway, isn't G major scary? Oh yeah. There's anything above 3 sharps to 3 flats I have to think about. Because, hold on, let me think about that. So F sharp, C sharp, G sharp is fine. Anything above 3 sharps, I have to really go in. I can't go on autopilot when I sight read sheet music. Let's see, B, E, A. Anything above 3 flats, I can't go on autopilot anymore because I have to think about D flat, and that just throws everything out of proportion for me because I can't rely on an open D string. It's not as bad, but once you start throwing in the G flat, the C flat, then my whole world shakes. Oh my gosh. So we're going to talk about minor scales now. You just listened to an A major scale. And now we're going to talk about minor scales, and these scales sound sad. And the reason why I'm talking about an A minor scale right after C major scale is because both don't have sharps or flats. And because we had C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And I'll show you all. This one starts on an A. And we're gonna work through the different half step, whole step stuff. So let's see. Which A are we gonna use? This one. A. Oh, let me do treble clef. Oh my gosh. Woohoo! My speed is getting better. Solitude in E minor. Oh my gosh. From SpongeBob. Here we go. So the A, B, I'll put in the lines later. C. You know what? We're not going to bother with quarter notes. A, B. Oh gosh. A, B, C, D, E, whoa. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Woohoo! Yay! E minor. This is A minor. We're going to transpose solitude in E minor. Yay! A minor. I love that clip. Oh my gosh. Anyway, So an A minor scale is, as you would expect, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Oh my gosh, we can do our alphabet! So now we're going to talk about the intervals, the half steps and the whole steps. An interval is the amount of space between each note, by the way. So A to B, let's see here. 1, 2. So that's a whole step. And then we have B to C, which is a half step. Boop. And then we have C to D, which is boop, boop, a whole step. And then we have D to E, which is a whole step. We have E to F, which is a half step. And then we have F to G, which is a whole step. And then back to A from G. Da-da-dum-bum. That looks about right. I need to draw in my A. What are we missing here? Is that an A? In alto clef, that's a B. So it's very confusing. And there we go. Why do they split them into the same 7 letters? Why not keep the alphabet going? That's a great question I do not know the answer to. That sounds like some music history stuff. Honestly, I'm not sure. That's a great question, though. Right, because you like, why use A, B, C, D, E, F, G if you have sharps and flats? Why can't you just add a couple more notes? I'm not sure. Is there a different way to do an A minor scale with sharps or flats? What do you mean? I'm a little confused. Eternal, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. There are minor scales with sharps and flats, but these 2 scales, C major and A minor, I think they're called relative. Hold on, let me fact check myself. Relative keys. Oh my gosh. Okay, I was right. They're called relative keys. Relative scales, I guess. Gosh, my music theory teacher. Oh, how could you forget? It's been a long time. Oh my gosh. So you can kind of see there's a difference with the pattern in the whole steps and the half steps in the minor key. Now I get to show you what it sounds like. So before we got to hear the happy C major. Now we're going to hear the sad A minor. I know I say sad. You're going to hear what it sounds like in just a bit. I guess I can start on my G string. Not as fun. It's a little sad. I'll play it one more time. This is a viola. Phrygian scale. So we're not going to talk about modes today, like church modes, like Phrygian, Mixolydian. I think that's a little bit out of the scope of beginner music theory, but that's a great question. So no modes today. Oh my gosh. I say sad, sad versus happy. I think that's the easiest way to kind of differentiate with major and minor scales. You can kind of practice. One thing that, I did in theory was dictation. Basically what dictation is being able to listen to music and write it down. So you're given like a reference note. Like this is a C. Blah. I don't know what a C sounds like. I don't have perfect pitch. So, ba, 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 right? So they give you a reference key and then you listen to a song and you write down the notes. And so being able to hear intervals like, oh, this is a half step away or a whole step away, etc. It's not really something you need to know, but it's nifty. it's nifty. But I think that's all I'm going to talk about in terms of pitch because I need to start talking about rhythm. So I want to talk about key signatures. So I guess I'll touch upon key signatures. I can't talk about it too much today because I have to get into rhythm. But essentially, key signatures are at the beginning of a piece or a beginning of a staff. It can be anywhere in the staff, but usually if you're not changing a bunch, it'll be at the beginning of the staff. And it tells you how many sharps or how many flats are in a piece of music. And it can have none, which would be like a C major scale or an A minor scale. There's no sharps or no flats. The sharps at the beginning, or flats, sorry, at the beginning of your key signature will tell you what key you're in or what notes are going to be sharp and which notes are going to be flat. So now this is going to be interesting because I read music in alto clef, so this is going to be a little weird. But I think this is the F that it wouldn't be down here, right? So F, this goes on in the circle of fifths. There is a certain order for writing your sharps and flats. But we're not going to talk about the circle of fifths today, but just to touch upon it, the little, I guess, accidentals. So it could be like that. Or it could be like this. Hold on. Which B flat is it? I think it's this one. It tells you which notes are going to be sharp or which ones are going to be flat. So you could have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many sharps, however many flats. And however, it'll tell you what key you're in. Mm-hmm. So earlier we had A minor, or we had like another one. We had like A major. And that had a certain number of sharps, a certain number of flats. So if you have 2 sharps in your key signature, it'll tell you that you're in the key of whatever key has 2 sharps or 2 flats. Mm-hmm. So that's pitch in a nutshell. There's so many more things I could tell you all in terms of pitch, but I think that's all I'm going to talk about for today. If you want to learn more about key signature, you can search it up, or maybe, who knows, if you really enjoyed this stream, let me know in the comments. Give a like so I know to do and more. We can go on to Unit 2. But yeah, you could search up, I guess, some keywords you can search up are key signature and circle of fifths. Yeah. Music theory for the win. Yeah. So, yeah, unfortunately, this is a beginner class. I don't want to overwhelm people who maybe have never read music before. So, I can already tell that this is probably a lot for someone who's never seen music before, but I hope that, it was a little bit helpful. So now we're going to talk about rhythm. Oh my gosh. So if we're talking about, like, imagine an axis, right? If the y-axis is pitch, like da ba 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 ba, we also have an x-axis that tells us about time and when to play a note. And that is what rhythm is called. So I guess I'll start off with the idea of a pulse, like a heartbeat, right? And ideally, your heartbeat has like a consistent, bounce to it. So I'm snapping my fingers right now. Obviously, your heartbeat can change. It can get faster or it can get slower, right? But for the most part, you have a pretty consistent click. And this is what I would consider a pulse. Da-da-dum, right? Dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. I'm just making something up right now. And this kind of dictates your music. When you have this consistent rate, right, when you're listening to something, these are called beats, right? Notes can exist as beats in the pulse. So you have this consistent tapping. These are beats. Boom, boom, bum. And then how fast you have these beats in your pulse is your tempo. Whoa. That's the speed of your music. So you can have a really fast tempo. Can I snap that fast? Or you can snap really slowly. And you have a slow tempo. And I'll show you how tempo is written. There's 2 ways to write tempo. You can give a number, or you can give a vague, artistic, description of your tempo. So back to the more scientific way of talking about tempo. There is a certain duration for each note. And when I mean duration of a note, it's how long a sound, or a silence is. So duration of a note doesn't just belong to a sound. It could also refer to how long you rest, is what they're called. So rhythm is an aspect of this duration of music, and we use symbols again to refer to I guess rhythm, symbols and spacing, I guess, if you will. So I'm gonna show you all what these symbols look like, and it's gonna look a little bit math-y, but bear with me. I promise it'll be okay. So Uh, with sheet music, you'll look at notes. Notes are going to be dictated by note heads. Oh no, Matt, it's okay. You saw me earlier on the staff going like this, right? With some of them had like lines, maybe some of them looked like this, or maybe some of them looked like that. These are called note heads, that circular part. That's a note head. And sometimes they have stems like that. And sometimes they'll have these things called flags like that. And then sometimes stems will be connected to each other like that. Super fun. But just so you know the anatomy of a note. We have the note head, the stem, and then maybe a flag. Some of them don't have stems, some of them don't have flags. That's okay. Sorry, did I say staff? I meant stem. Sorry. I know, why not call it a leaf? But yes, they're called note heads, stems, and flags. Do I have that right? Try to go from my memory. Okay. We're going to start with the longest note. And this is a whole note. And a whole note lasts 4 beats. And what that looks like is this. Alex, thank you so much for the super chat. I hope you've been enjoying the lesson. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. Oh, gosh. This is what it looks like on a line. And this is what it looks like on a space. It's just a circle. It's just an oval. And a whole note lasts 4 beats. And it's spelled like this. Oh, you know what we should do? We'll make a little tree. This is what I did when I was learning music theory. So at the top of the tree is the longest value, a whole note. And it lasts 4 beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, Gavin mentioned something about 4/4. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Because they may not necessarily be in 4/4, but 4/4 is the most common to see a whole note in. There's also, we'll talk about it when we get there. But a whole note lasts 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoa, pretty cool. You can also divide a note into 2. Boop, boop. And you get a half note. And in order to get a half note, you just add... you add a stem. So if we were to do the math... Oh, gosh. I'm writing letters here at this point. 2 halves. 2 halves equal a whole. Oh, my gosh. Fractions. So, let's see. A half note. Wow. So I didn't spend years studying theory. I only spent a year studying theory. I spent years playing the viola. And this is the kind of stuff that just naturally you pick up. But if you're learning music now, with maybe you don't have a specific instrument in mind, this can be helpful. So that's 2 half notes. Why do some music fonts make half heads and whole heads look completely different? It's because styles change over time. Can't really do much about that. You've seen handwritten ones. Handwritten music is a whole other world as well. It really just depends on the style of the notation software that you use. So that's a whole step. That's 4 beats. A half step is 2. And then we're going to divide that even more in half. And we're going to go with the quarter note. And you can kind of see a pattern here. We're going into dividing into things. And you might be wondering, how do we get 3 beats then? Let's hold our horses and keep dividing a little bit more. So, so 2, I might have to delete this. 2 half steps. A half step is made out of 2 quarter notes. So if you divide a half step into 2, you get a quarter note. And it's basically a half step, but with a filled in note head. There we go. Are the shaded oval notes different from the non-shaded ones? Yes. And thank you for the great question, because that's where this comes in. So the only difference between a half note and a quarter note, aside from their value, is a shaded note head means it's a quarter note. And a quarter note gets 1 beat. Pretty cool. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then we're going to divide it even more. There's 2 more very common divisions. And the reality of it is you can go all the way down. You can have a semi, demi, whatever, quaver, however many flags. But it's just not realistic to be able to read fast enough. And you'll see what I mean. Yes, there's a 16th note. There is such thing as a 128th note. I don't think it's very realistic, but that does exist. There are some conventions in sheet music writing, and keeping the number of flags that you have on your notes is one of them. To a minimum is one of the, I guess, conventions. So half of a quarter note is an eighth note. And it looks like this. Pretty cool. Da 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 dum dum da 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 dum ba da da dum ba da da dum ba da da dum bum bum bum. How does that look? So that is an eighth note. Oh gosh, I always have trouble spelling the word eighth. Am I spelling that right? It always looks so weird. Let me write it one more time. That's an eighth note. And it's half of a beat, half of a pulse, right? After fractions, are we going to learn equations? Uh-oh, wrong class. Can I give an example of how it sounds with the metronome? Sure. So I'll give you 100 beats per minute. And what that means is there's 100 of these beats in a minute. So you're going to hear it clicking in just a moment. And it's going to be at 100 beats per minute. Maybe I should go a little bit slower. Who knows? But that means 100 of these beats fit in 1 minute. You can hear that, right? So here's a whole note. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Lasted 4 notes. Here we go. Here's a half note. Cool. Now here's a quarter note. Right? Just last one. Now the eighth, if you can divide that, so now I'm clapping. You're basically dividing that pulse that you have into 2. This is an eighth note. That's essentially what that is. And then we're going to divide it even more. We're going to keep this clicking going. Oh my gosh. And what's half of an eighth note is a 16th note. So you have a 0.25. And essentially, from this point on, you just keep adding more flags. Yeah. So by that nature, you can have a 30-second note. And if someone wants to get real fancy, can you tell me what note this would be? There you go. That's real. You can write that. That is a thing. Is this the FL Studio metronome? No, this is a Google metronome. So any math whizzes out there want to calculate what note that is for me? I don't actually know, so someone's going to have to tell me. So we had an eighth note, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And so, and I'll talk about the kind of language that I use. So see how I said and? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Not 5, I guess. You can do 5, 4 if you want. You feel pain just looking at that? Oh my gosh. And so 16th note, we're going to divide this pulse, right? Boom, boom, into 4. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... And I don't know if I can verbalize 30-second notes, but 30-second notes would be half of a 16th note, and so on and so forth. So that's the math of music. And there's more to that. But, now I'm going to go back to that one question I had. How do I talk about a note that lasts 3 beats? And we use a dot to adjust that. And I'm trying to think of okay, here we go. I think I have this right. You basically, using a dot, you can add on half of that note's value. Is that right? Because I'm thinking about it in dotted half notes and dotted quarters and dotted eighths. It should add on half of that note's value. So, for example, let's take a half note. Half of a half note is a quarter note, 1 beat. So if we were to add a dot, which we'd call this a dotted half note, Then you have 3 beats. So we have a whole note that lasts for 4, a dotted half that lasts for 3, a half note that lasts for 2. How about 1.5 beats? 1.5 beats are a dotted quarter note. You take half of that beat and you add it to the value of that note. So 1.5. I know it takes a little bit of time to process what that sounds like. I'm trying. I guess I could show you all what it sounds like. So a dotted half is 3 beats. Dotted quarter. So it goes 1E and a 2E and a oh gosh, I guess I can't show it to you. I guess I could. It would last 3 of these because these are halves that I'm clapping right now. Pretty cool. There is an exception though. We have these things called bars, and bars. She's spitting bars. That's where the bars come from. So we divide our music up into bars so that we're not like it's part of, I guess, the rhythm. And we'll talk about time signatures in a little bit. But you'll see in music that we kind of divide our. It's almost like sentences. You can't just have a string of words, you have sentences. And these kind of act as like the end of a sentence, maybe. Maybe that's a bad, I guess. Because you have sentences, you have phrases in music. And we'll talk about time signature in just a moment. If you need to continue a value across, there's only a certain number of beats that can exist in a bar. And your time signature will tell you how many beats can exist in a bar. In a measure, sorry. I guess you could refer to it either way. So this is a unit of your music. And I keep saying time signature. I'll give you an example of what it looks like before we talk about it. There we go. That's a time signature. It can look different. There's only a certain amount of beats that can fit in a measure. So if you need to have a note last longer, but you reach the end of your bar, you use this. You slur the notes together like this. It looks like a smiley face. So you have 2 notes that would equal a whole note. But unfortunately, like let's say there's already another half note in this measure. If you have no more and you can't fit in another note, you can connect a note across a line. And now we're going to talk about why you can only fit a certain number of notes in a measure with the concept of a time signature. Woo! Everyone get hyped. Time signatures are so cool. And then we'll talk about rests after. We'll talk about rests after because I think I need to talk about time signatures right now. So, clear that. Now, you saw the number. I'll write my example time signature right here. A common one you'll see is 4/4. Now, time signatures are 2 parts. It looks like a fraction, doesn't it? Now, the time signature tells you 2 things. The number at the top tells you something, and the number at the bottom tells you something. This is as simple as I can go. The number at the top tells you how many beats are in a measure, right? And the number at the bottom tells you what note gets the beat. So the top one, you could have 1 note in a measure. You could have 2 notes in a measure, 3 notes in a measure, 4 notes in a measure, 5, 6, 7. 7, 8 is a weird time signature. Let me tell you. It's a quick tangent. Sorry. For any non-musicians out there, this is going to sound really weird. There's a song in Les Mis called ABC Cafe, and it's in 7/8. And it feels like it almost feels like you haven't finished what you're going to say, but you move on to the next thing. So it goes dun 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 dun. It's so weird. It's like it feels like you're rushing, but it's not. Anyway, back to what I was saying. The number at the top tells you how many beats in a measure, right? How many beats until you finish that bar, you finish that measure, you finish that sentence. How many words can you fit in a sentence? And then which note value, I guess, gets the beat. And so we talked about how the number on top, they can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You make me feel like 11. Anyway, that's a song. The number at the bottom indicates like a quarter note or a whole note, etc. So 4, the quarter note gets the beat. If it's an 8, the 8th note gets a beat. If it's a 16, the 16th note gets a beat. You can really do whatever you want, but there are common time signatures. 4/4 is a common time signature. 3/4 is a common time signature. I guess 6/8 is a common time signature. Things like that. Speaking of common time signatures, you may see, instead of numbers, you might see this instead. C. So this is common time. I just saw that somebody put it in the chat. So yes, common time, since 4/4 is so common, they just denote it as a C. There's also cut time, which is basically that in half. So 2. But if you see the letter C, that's common time. Cool. Nice. So let me show you what 4/4 looks like. So 4 beats in a measure, and the quarter note gets a beat. So it looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Before you have to start a new measure. And you can do another 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can only have 4 in a measure. You can only have 4. So let's say, but Professor Rita, I wanted to have a note last longer. Like I wanted a note to last as long as a whole note on that 4th beat. But I ran out of beats to use because I already have 1, 2, 3, 4. You can't squeeze in a half note in that last one. You ran out of space. So instead, I talked about this earlier, you use a line to slur these notes together. So now you've added the value of this note to the value of this note. Yeah, so 4/4 is what 90% of music is written in. That's right. A lot of music is written in 4/4. 3/4 is basically this, but we move over this line. And then now we have 3 in each. And 3/4 is very common in waltzes. Bum 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 bum. I know you. I met with you once upon a dream. Sleeping Beauty waltz. My favorite waltz. Da, na, 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 na. Anyway, so another key signature that's very common is 6/8. Can someone tell me what that is? Using this language right here, how many beats and which note gets the beat in 6/8? Need a full cover on the viola? I can do that. Let's see. Sorry, time signature. Did I say key signature on accident? Here we go. Tell me what time signature, what does 6/8 mean? 6 beats in the measure, right? And then the 8th note gets the beat. That's right. Exactly. So what that looks like, there's also a proper way to bunch up, I guess, notes. So it looks like this. Oh gosh. Da-da-dum. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm not going to get into all the mechanics of how to connect all the stems together, but yeah, when you have multiple 8th notes in a row, you do connect their, even if they're different pitches, you connect their note heads together like that. There's also stem direction etiquette. But I'm not going to dive too much into that. So normally, if you go really, really high, you would point the stem in the other direction, down instead of up. Unless there's like multiple parts on one staff, but we don't need to know that. We use digital music notation software nowadays, so you don't really have to worry about them. But that's what time signatures are in a nutshell. And we talked about dots, we talked about ties. Talked about time signature. Great. Let me show you all what rests look like, and then we can move on. We can wrap up for the day. We can bring in my musical examples and talk about the things that we learned today. What if there's 2 lines on top of stems? Oh, like this? So we talked about it earlier. That is a 16th note, 32nd note, things like that. So let me go ahead and erase these. Let me go back here. Let's see. Let me do a new one. So instead of notes, you can also have periods of silence as well. So we have a whole note. That's a note, la, that's a sound that lasts for 4 beats. Now, we're going to give you a symbol that means 4 beats of silence. Yeah, rests are nice. And I'm going to give you all a mnemonic for memorizing whole rests and half rests because they do look a little similar. So this is a whole rest. And remember, a whole rest lasts for 4 beats. It looks like that. Oh gosh, my drawing is so bad. Maybe I should make it bigger. Oh yeah. Here we go. This is a whole rest. Oh, like when there's multiple note heads in a staff? Great question. I'll come back to that after we talk about rests. So half is 2. So this is 2 beats of rest, and it looks like this. And the way that you can differentiate them, like I mentioned, I would share with you all, because I love mnemonics, is the whole rest looks like a whole, and the half rest looks like a hat. That's how I remember that. That's a half rest. Quarter rest is 1 beat of rest. And this is the hardest one. It kind of looks like this. From memory, that's what it looks like. I don't know any other fast way to draw. Let me see. It really just looks like a squiggle. That's pretty good, right? Right? That's a just go search up quarter rest. This is as best as I could do. And then we have an 8th rest. Like that. And then basically the same concept with the flags on the notes. So this is a 16th rest. And then you can go as long as you want down to make as short of a rest as you want. But yes, so that's a 8th rest. And a 16th. Envy, thank you so much for the super chat. You can make a video using one of your songs/covers and dissecting the music theory behind them. That would be interesting. I don't know if I know enough about theory to talk about that. I could talk about the chords and how certain notes resolve themselves and certain harmonies and stuff like that. If the rest is short enough, is it even worth marking as a rest? So there is, you do have to be reasonable. That's why I think people usually stop at 6th rest. Because sheet music is like a suggestion, right? Like it tells you, it's a roadmap. But as you learn music, as you remember music and you make music more expressive, you can shy away from, doing things perfectly. But you do have to learn the rules before you can break them. And I'll talk about how when you listen into the examples again, you can see how the artists play with tempo and play with note values and things like that. And we're not going to dive into too much ornamentation in terms of things like staccato and things like that. I will talk a little bit about expressive annotation. But to go off of somebody else's comment before we move away from rhythm, sometimes we're going to go back to pitch a little bit. Someone said, what happens if there's 2 note heads? So for some instruments, most commonly piano, you can play multiple notes at the same time. And if they're the same value, they can all share the same stem. So if it's just a bunch of whole notes, you can go like that. Or it can look like this if it's a half. Or maybe they're all filled in. Woohoo! Or maybe it's weird. It's like that. Oh yeah. Like there's one little funky guy on top. Or maybe it's like an open chord. Like that. Oh, I don't know what chord that is. But yeah, fun little tidbit. Violas, fun fact, violas actually can do this as well. They're called double stops. There's also such thing as triple stops, but you don't usually play all three at once. You play the first one and then you play the two on top together. But that's just whenever you have notes that you play together. Yeah. So there's that. I'm gonna just talk briefly about expressive, I guess, annotations. Before we go into looking at our examples again. Because they're going to be there in the music. Oh yeah, sorry, I keep thinking I'm done. I mentioned things like 100 beats per minute, things like that. There's two ways you can show the tempo or the speed of your music, and you can give a number. So you can say, okay, a quarter note is 100 beats per minute. So, like, let's say you have a tapping. These beats happen at 100. There's 100 of these beats in 1 minute. Each of these are a quarter note. You could also say an eighth note equals 100. So these are actually eighth notes then. Or you can give a word. And gosh, I don't even know. You can give a word. It can be like, andante or, presto. And I'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about expressive expressive markings. Is that what you would call them? Expressive elements, sure. So tempo words, you probably heard these before. Here are some of the very common ones. Largo, which is slow. I guess very broad. This is kind of like in the lower range, so like 40 to 60 beats per minute. Adagio would probably be a little bit faster than that. Probably like 60 to 70 if I had to guess. I'm trying to do it in a meaningful order. I don't want to just skip around. So after Adagio, I guess Andante. I'm missing a lot, but these are just ones that you'll see a lot. And it can be anywhere. It's like a moderately slight, like walking almost. There's a lot between the two. There's Adagietto, but I'm gonna go with Andante instead. So this is like 70 to like 100 probably. Then I guess Moderato. Moderato is like 100 to 120 probably. Oh gosh, my handwriting is getting worse. So it doesn't have to be an exact number. It can be a range. There's Allegro. There is an Allegretto that you see a lot in between Moderato and Allegro. But I think I see Allegro more. So 120 to about like 140, 150-ish. And then it gets a lot faster. So Vivace, Presto, and those are the ones that I, use the most. So Vivace would be, and then Presto is even faster. There's other ones like Molto Allegro, which is more fast. Prestissimo or something like that. But these are the most common tempos. I guess tempo terms. I don't know what you would call them. So you can either give a number or you can give a marking like that. And last thing, okay, so I promise this will be the last thing we talk about before we go into our examples again. Now that you've taken what you've learned. So, expressive elements. I'm just going to talk about dynamics. So now dynamics are how loud your notes are. So we talked about the pitch. We talked about rhythm, right? The speed and the beats. The speed of the beats, I guess. And now we're going to talk about dynamics. So very, very quiet or very, very loud. And I'm going to talk about two ways we can show that. And the first one, I guess, what would you call them? Dynamic symbols. And you probably see them as these tiny little letters that show up underneath your music. So maybe there's an F. And if you're an Idolish 7 fan, this also might look familiar to you as well. Mezzo. So I'll go from the very quiet to very loud. So you can see a lot of these really in succession. But most commonly, they usually go from 2 to 1, then the middle ones, and then one more on this end, and then 2. So this is pianissimo. Let me spell that out for you. Hold on. Pianissimo. Okay. Pianissimo. That's the quietest. Piano. That's the next quietest. Then you have mezzo piano. Uh-oh, here we go. Mezzo. Idol 7 fans. Mezzo piano. And then we go into the fortes. Mezzo forte. Forte. And then fortissimo. There you go. And so those are dynamic ranges. And so if you want to tell someone you should be quiet, you should be loud, maybe you should be in the middle, that's what you're going to use. And you just put them underneath your music wherever you see fit. There's another way to show dynamic changing over time, and this is the last thing I'll share before we dive into our examples again. And that's, what do you call them? I call them carrots. And they're crescendos, I guess. And they go like this. They can look like this to get louder, or they could be written like this, meaning crescendo, to get louder. And then there's also one like this that you can write. So you can make this as long or as short as you want. And then, you can write it like this, diminuendo, dim. So, with the lines, you can make them as short or as long as you want to show them, how much time do you need to take to get louder or get softer. Maybe it's over a longer period of time. Or you can use something where it's like you have a forte somewhere in the middle. You tell everyone to diminuendo. And then at some point, they need to end up at a piano. You could also do it like that. Or, you could also go like this. That's also one way to do it. So to wrap up today's lesson, we're going to look at our example music now. So I showed you all the introduction and Rondo Capriccioso, which was featured in Your Line April. It's a piece that someone who I got to work with when I was younger played. And so getting to see it in Your Line April was really exciting. This next one is actually another meaningful song for me that also appeared in an anime. This is one of my first songs that I learned, one of my first pieces that I've learned. So it means a lot to me. It gives me really good vibes. It reminds me of back when I used to first play viola when I was really, really young. And it appeared in an anime called The Corda d'Oro. And it's Gavotte. Gavotte? How do you say it? Gavotte? By Gosek? Is that the name? So we're going to go ahead and I'll pull that one up for you. So this one's going to be a little bit easier to read. It's just one instrument. And I'm going to play it for you all. It's a lovely piece. Oh, there we go. Gavotte! This is my favorite beginner piece. Because I played this at my very first competition when I was a really, really tiny, tiny Rita. And I got a medal. Even though I played it very... That's what it sounded like. So, Gavotte, I don't really know how to pronounce it. It's my favorite beginner piece. And here we go. I'll play it a little bit for you all. And take a look at the things that we talked about. And see if you can remember some of the things. Oh, here's a fun one. I talked about this very briefly, but see if you can remember what that one was. Here we have... Well, before we listen to it, let's talk about it, actually. Why are there dots on top? That's a great question, Oishizo. So these are staccato markings, and it tells you to play it short. It's a stylistic choice. So it's like ba 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 rather than ba 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 bum bum bum. It goes ba 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 bum. Con grazia, I think that means with grace. So it's basically a stylistic choice. They tell you allegretto. So not as fast as an allegro, a little bit slower. So ooh, we have an ornament here. And basically you touch that other note first before you go play that big note. That's what it sounds like. And you can listen to it too in the performance. Oh, in the performance. This is actually a MIDI of it, so I hope you all don't mind. We see the piano, so it starts quiet, and then it gets louder. You're going to hear the computer do it, though, so it might be a little bit weird. There's a repeat sign. So this symbol tells you to repeat a certain section. Normally there's another bar that tells you which area you have to repeat. But in this case, since it's at the beginning, you just go to the beginning and you start over. We actually see it right here. Let me clear this. You see it at the bottom again with these two right here. Once you reach this section, you go back. Oops, you go back and you repeat this whole section one more time. Let's go ahead and listen to it. Shall we? Oopsie daisy. Let's go like this. Okay. Here's gavot. How you say it? Here we go. Right here. Bum. Rest. See? Dun dun dun. Rest. Dun 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 dun. Rest. Dun dun dun. Oh, we repeated. I forgot. Dun dun. Here we go. Dun 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 dun. Rest. Dun 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 dun. Rest. Dun 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 dun. Rest. Dun 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 dun. Rest. Another repeated section. Dun 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 dun. Ba da na na. Ba da 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 da. Bum 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 bum. Ba da da da. Dun 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 da 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 dum. Da. Repeat. Da da na na da da da. Da 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 da. Da 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 dum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Dun da 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 da. Rest. Dun da 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 da. Da 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 da. Rest. Dun da 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Rest. Da 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 da. Dun dun da 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 dun. Dun dun da 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 dum. Dun 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 dun. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop us from there. But yeah, that's how you read music. And at first it's gonna take a lot of time. You might not remember the note names at first. You have to use the mnemonics in your head. Like, is that a B? Is that an A? But over time, it really just becomes muscle memory. Over however long it takes you to remember things, you just remember which notes are played with which fingers, or where on the fingerboard that is. You can memorize shifts and things like that. But yeah, it's really cool. Did we just sight read? Well, yes and no. I mean, I just know this song from memory. It's one of my favorite beginner songs. So, yeah, if you want to see it in an anime, go watch La Corda d'Oro. Yeah. A couple of things that we got to see. We saw the ties, and sometimes ties, I don't know if they're called ties if they're over different notes. I guess they're called slurs if they're over different notes. Because we've seen ties between notes if you wanted to extend the length of a note, but you see how there's a line over these notes. And how you would play that is all in one bow stroke. So this is one specifically to the violin. This is a violin piece. So what this line is saying is to play this all in a bow stroke. So normally you change the direction that you pull your bow between each note. So like down, up, down. Then this is the notation that you would use for, this is a down bow. This little stapler looking thing. And this is an up bow. And normally you would switch between those two. But this line tells you that you do all of this in one bow. And then you go up, down, up. Yeah, La Corda d'Oro. That's right. It's a good anime. My favorite character is the trumpet player. Is it because he played the gavotte with the main character? Who knows? But I don't know. I really liked the trumpet player. I wasn't a fan of the blue-haired violinist character. He kind of gave me bad vibes. I don't like was it the flute player? Oh, you know who else I thought was really nice? The green-haired clarinet. Was it clarinet player? She was really nice. She was really sweet. Was there a saxophone player? I don't remember. There was a violist, but he only came in the second season. La Cordo di Doro. So the premise of the story is there's a girl who knows nothing about music, knows nothing about violin for that matter, but she meets like the fairy of the school that she attends because it's both a general education school and a music school. And she stumbles upon the fairy, and the fairy is like, "You see me, you can hear my plea. You need to play this violin, enter this competition, and win," or something like that. And she goes, "Great, but I don't know how to play violin." And she learns how to play violin, enters competition. It's really great. Yeah. I don't think there's a saxophone guy. There's a trumpist. Is that how you say it? There's a flautist. Oh, cello. There's a cello guy. So the girl was a clarinet player. She's so sweet. There's a piano player. I'm trying to remember who was my favorite character. I think trumpet guy. So aside from, I like the main character. She's cool. But my favorite, I guess, friend of hers was the trumpet player. The clarinetist was also really nice to her. The other violinist was really mean. I don't know. The flautist was also kind of mean too. The cellist was really sleepy, but I find that to be a little accurate because I feel like a lot of the cellists I've ever interacted with are always sleepy. I feel like cellists just have a really chill vibe. They're really laid back, at least the cellists that I've gotten to know in my life. So seeing the cellist be really sleepy made sense. The trumpet player was very energetic and loud, which is, again, very in line with the brass players that I know in my life. The other violinist character was very serious and very, I guess not competitive, but took the competition very seriously, which, again, very in line with violinists that I know in my life. I also like the piano guy. He was pretty cool, but I also really like piano, so I might be a little bit biased. Okay, anyway, I wanted to show you all one more piece. This is the piece I've played before, practiced before for you all. But I'm going to have another performance by Miss Sujin Han play. This is Massenet. Massenet, is that how you would say it? And this is the meditation. So give me one moment. I'm going to pull up the meditation. I think I have it somewhere. And then you all can take a look at what that looks like. Download PDF, full score. Oh, you all can take a look at what a grand staff looks like. Oh, this is so exciting. This is so exciting. Don't you love music theory? Here we go. Oh, wrong one. There we go. That was the super chat reader. We're not there quite yet. Maybe in a couple of minutes. This is the meditation from the opera Thais. This is probably the most... This is one of the last pieces I think I played when I was playing viola seriously. I play viola still now, but this was the last piece I think I played in competition. I don't compete with other people. I don't compete against other people. I competed for a rating, I guess. So you're not really competing with other people. You're competing with yourself. Yeah, anyway. This is the last piece I played in competition. And then I stopped doing viola seriously. So this is the full score. So this is piano. We see the grand staff here. You see how we have the little brackety thing. Very fun. Let me see. Can I write something? Here we go. So we have a grand staff here. Key signature, 2 sharps. It's F sharp and C sharp. We're in common time. That's 4/4, if you can remember. We have treble clef here, bass clef, and this is a violin version. This is not the viola transcription. Andante religioso. So this is in the story of the opera. This is a very religious experience. So play it as if you're having a religious experience, as the character is having. A couple of expressive elements. Here we have our piano, dolce. If I remember correctly, this is sweetly. Play it sweetly. I can't read this one. Dolce avec, do avec suavité. I don't know what that means. At this point, you would search something up if you're playing this piece. Do avec suavité is French, of course, because Massenet, I think, is French. Sweet with softness. So, and you'll hear it in a little bit. There's some notes in the piano, which is the pedal. So in a piano, there's little like pedals, footsteps. There's 3 of them. One of them is a sustain. And for the piano players out there, this might be important. That's what this is. It's a pedal. It tells you to press the pedal. This tells you to lift your foot from the pedal, and then it tells you to put that back on. Some music doesn't tell you when to press the pedal or when not to. Some people like to tell you when to use your pedals. So that's what those are. There's numbers above the notes. They're really tiny. Let me see if I can zoom in. There's some numbers. These are fingerings for how to play the notes. So on a violin, it'll tell you whether to use your third finger or your first finger. Oh my gosh, triplets! We didn't get to talk triplets today. Gosh. I guess in a nutshell, a triplet is dividing something into 3. So we talked about dividing stuff into in halves. So half of a whole note is a half note. Half of a half note is a quarter note. Triplets divide things in 3s. So if you wanted to have a 3 notes in a quarter note instead of 2 eighth notes, because that's just 2, you could have a triplet, and you would designate that by, I guess, putting them together like this in a staff, and then we put 3 under. That's a triplet. So instead of dividing something in 2, you're dividing something in 3. What else? Any other quick things that we can look at? Sul A. So for the violin players out there, that means to play everything on the A string, as opposed to changing your strings. I think this is to play it as a harmonic. I guess I could just talk about it as we listen to it. Here we go. I don't know what the full of ral means, but I'll tell you all. I'll tell you what it means in the music. Here we go. This is meditation. I love this piece. It's kind of quiet. 1 second. There we go. Right here. See how she's getting louder? Right here. Getting louder. Back quiet. Here we go. Getting louder, see that? And then this means to get slow down a little bit, right? See how she slowed down a little bit? And odd tempo means you're back at your tempo. Right here. Forte, here we go. Crescendo, get louder. Oh, I love this part. One of my favorite parts in this piece. Sul G, play this all on the G string. Another, I forget what the full is another slowing down. Back at tempo, tempo. Animando, I guess more animated. Oh yeah, look at that phrasing. Poco a poco apasionado, more and more impassioned. Oh, I love that phrasing. That was beautiful. She put a little pause between that. We're getting louder. Reminds you of Final Duet. Oh my gosh. Here we go. More impassioned. All on the A string, all in the D string. Più mosso agitato, more agitated. Right here. I don't know what this is. It is po. I don't know what that is. The diminuendo, get quieter right here. Right here. And then we get slower. Back to a tempo, dolce, sweetly. This is a lovely song. And then it basically repeats towards the end. Shall we go back to the chanson? Is that how you would pronounce it? Camille chanson. This is the one I played earlier. Now you can look at it with a little bit more knowledge in your head. So this is a full score, so I might just focus on the string section because we have our soloist playing the violin. So this is the introduction and Rondo Capriccioso by Camille Saint-Saëns. Here we have it, you see treble clef, you see bass clef, we see alto clef with the violas. Go violas. Our time signature, we're in 2/4 right here. Our tempo is andante. We are also given a number. Quarter note equals 52. Very specific. Let's see. Yeah. Let's get started. Now with what we know. Oh, here's a fun one. Pizz. It says Pizz. It doesn't mean pizza. It means pizzicato, and that means the strings are gonna pluck their strings like this. You've heard me play. I don't have my bow with me, but oh gosh, what fun tangent. In Les Mis, they have pizz alla guitarre, and normally you play pizzicato with the instrument on your shoulder, like normal, because you play violin, viola on your shoulder. Play it like that. But pizz alla guitarre, you pluck it like a guitar, which is really fun. I think it was Master of the House, if I remember correctly. Master of the House. Da 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 dum. Da 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 da. And then to go back to bowing with your bow, you use arco. ARCO. So see if you can spot the arco section. Okay, here we go. This is Introduction and Rondo Capriccioso. Oh, you're already sorry. There's an applause in this recording. Here we go. Pizzicato, boom, boom, boom. And notice how she's kind of bending the tempo a little bit. That's a stylistic choice. But this is kind of the roadmap she's following. Dun, 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 dun. Here you have a quintuplet. There we go. And if you want more of a challenge, follow along with another instrument. She is adding her style to it. That's right. This might not be the right arrangement, but it should be similar. Here we go. Animato, more animated. Oh, you can hear the pizzicato. How fun. Arco, here we go. Strings are back in with their bows. Oops, I missed it. That pizzicato is too fun. Now back to arco, like we mentioned. Tranquillo. Tranquil? And we're gonna go a little bit farther than we did last time. Da-da-da-da. Here's a high note right here. Oh, here's the long run we had earlier. Marcato. I don't know marcato. I know martellato, like a hammer. Here's a trill. She's moving really quickly between two notes. Nice. Dun, diminuendo. So they're gonna get quieter because they're making room for the violin solo. Oh, she's cooking up a fine pizza. Oh yeah, that's what the pizzicato is for. So this is from Your Lie in April. So this is the second piece from an anime that I chose for today. Oh gosh. Here we go. Right here. It goes by pretty fast when you're looking at a full score. Here we go. Oh, look at this fun arco part in the strings. Oh gosh, I've lost. Right here. Look at that jump! That's crazy! These runs are crazy! Right here. crazy that I, like, know someone personally who can play this. It's crazy. I don't know if she can still play it now, but... Oh, this is fun. Oh, look at this! Look at that! What is that? This instrumentation is crazy. Okay. All right. This is a 10-minute long song. Maybe I'll play it in the background for super chat readings so you can listen to the rest of it. But thank you all so much for joining me today. If you had a lot of fun and you want to see more, let me know in the comments. You know, if you want a unit 2, I don't know what we would cover in a unit 2, but we can definitely move on from just the basics. I don't know. I'm already really bad at teaching basics, but I can try my best. Yeah, you know, give a like. Let me know if you enjoyed it. If you want to stick around, we're going to spend a few more minutes reading some super chats and chatting, maybe more musical tangents, and then I'll send you all off to another stream to continue the fun. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing a little bit later in the day stream. Evening, so a little bit later in the evening stream, we're going to be doing more Ruby Arrowfell. I've been having lots of fun voice acting. The roles, some of the voices are pretty easy. Some of them are tough. Like I have some trouble with Yang's voice, but my Ruby impression's really good. Apparently my Weiss impression's pretty good too. I think my Pietro, my old man impression's pretty good, apparently. Oh my goodness. But without further ado, let's read some super chats, shall we? Let's go. Hey, hey, hey! Hey, hey, hey! Hello, hello, hello. Alrighty. Let me put the music back on. Do you want my regular BGM or do you want the introduction and Rondo Capriccioso as the background music? Oh yeah! Wait, what? 29,000? Are you /J or /SRS? Hold on a second. Is this real? Is this real life? Is this just fantasy? Oh my gosh! When? Oh my gosh, and it's 10 over! Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness! Thank you, everyone! I didn't during the stream! Oh my gosh! Thank you, guys! Where did you all come from? Thank you! Oh my gosh, I should do something to celebrate. Oh my gosh, maybe we should do an endurance stream to get to 30,000 before the year ends. What do you all think? You think you can do it? Oh my gosh. Who knows? Thank you, guys. That makes me really happy. During a music theory stream, too, talking about something I love. I'm really happy. Should I play something for you all? I don't think I have any solo music prepared for you all. No, okay. Well, I'll be right back. One second. Hello, I am back. I brought Sebastian's bow and a shoulder rest. Oh my gosh, I'm not warm. I'm not very good. I don't know what to say. Oh my gosh, hold on. Let me step backstage while I get Sebastian ready. Because I have to tighten my bow, I have to do this and that, and decide what sheet music I'm gonna play. This is a thank you for 29K. Oh my gosh, I really don't know what to play. Any suggestions? What if I just megalovanian everyone? Oh, I'm not gonna do that. Okay, 1 second. Give me a second. I'm gonna take my coat off too since I'm playing. I don't want to play with something really cumbersome. Hold on. Okay. Alrighty then. Here we go. It's viola time. It's viola time. Who's ready? I know I am. Okay, here we go. All right. I don't know what to play. I forgot my sheet music in the back. Let me go grab it. Hold on. Oh gosh, what do I play? What do I even play? Let's take a look. I have sheet music here. I can play these impossible. And so this is like orchestra music. So this isn't solo music at all. This is Ruslan and Ludmila. I'm just going through my music, my old music collection. This is played a long time ago, so this is the first thing I pulled up. So here we go. So this actually goes really fast normally. Hold on, I'm gonna, oh gosh. Let me make sure I'm somewhat in tune. Gosh. Let's see. 1 second. Okay, here I come. I don't have a stand. Oh my gosh, I don't have a stand. This is gonna be awkward. Okay. I just want to play something for you all. I really need to stand. I can't see it. Oh no! Here, let me make a makeshift stand. Oh my gosh. So normally this is played really fast, but it's been a while since I played this, so I don't know if I can. I'm essentially almost sight reading right now. Let's see. Gosh, I should also have. Let me clean my. Oh my gosh, let me move this over. Okay, here we go. Hold on. Oh, there's a flat and a natural and a sharp. Okay, let's keep going. This is an enjoyable sight read, isn't it? Oh my gosh, the notes are too small. Let me see if I can move it any closer. Da 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 da, right da da da. Okay, here we go. That's as close as I'm gonna get. Oh gosh, I don't have enough space in front of my desk. And then there's a page turn. Let's see what else is in my old sheet music collection. Let's see. Ooh, how about, what is this one? What is this one? Maybe not that one. Oh, here's a common one. Gershwin. I don't know if there's anything interesting in this one. American in Paris. Let me see. Oh my gosh, I think I have, wait, I think I have some, I don't know if I'd have any like interesting like melody stuff, but I think I have like Les Mis music. Da 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 da. Wait, maybe, what is this? Okay, what is this part? B flat, E flat, okay. Oh, that's the main motif. Actually, I'm gonna go back to the other piece. I think there's a part that's really fun. Da, na, na, na. Okay, hold on. It's a really fun piece. How about this part? Okay, let's see. You can almost see the notes. Isn't music so fun? there's not too many interesting parts. Violas usually get a lot of the supplementary stuff, like the accompaniment type stuff. But being a violist is super cool. I'm trying to see if I have any other well-known music. Let's see. As a thanks for 29K. I haven't practiced the meditation in a while. I can certainly try. Let me see if I can find it. Because I tried practicing on a stream a couple of months ago, but I haven't looked at it since. Meditation. Nope, that's the violin version. 1 second. Da, da, da. I'm not gonna do it as well as the lady. Meditation Thais. Is this it? Ah, okay. All right, here we go. It's been a few months since I've tried practicing this last. It's probably been a few months since you've last heard this, so here we go. Let me put some reverb on in here. Okay. There's also no rosin. There's like no rosin on my bow, so apologies. Okay, let me zoom in. Hold on. This sheet music's a little... I also don't remember the entire thing, so I'll stop whenever I forget how to play a certain bit. Okay, here we go. Let me stand up real quickly. And that's all I practiced the last time I did this stream. But there's that. That's quite a bit I remembered. Okay, let me put Sebastian away. Pack, pack, pack. And thank you all again for 29K. Hold on. Let me put Sebastian away. Thank you all so much for 29K. How crazy is that? And who knows, maybe I'll actually get to put a piece together to actually perform for you guys and practice and things like that. Maybe someday. For those who don't know, I recently joined a community orchestra. We're playing like Christmas music and stuff. So I haven't gotten the time to really practice anything else other than my, community orchestra music. But maybe I'll I'll actually practice a piece for you all. So, I'm excited. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Stefan, thank you so much for the super chat. As a music theory professor, thank you for your services to public music theory, Rita. Of course! I had a lot of fun, learning music theory for the first time, so I'm just excited to share the excitement. Joe, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for this music lesson, of course! Of course. Happy to share. Eternal, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. And Alex, thank you so much for the super chat. Always been super interested in music theory. I really appreciate the lessons. Professor Rita, oh my gosh, have to get used to that. Oh my goodness. Marco, thank you so much for the super chat. And Envy, thank you for the super chat. You can make a video using one of your songs/covers and dissect the music theory behind them. I don't know, would you all be interested in that? I don't know what I would talk about. I could talk about, like, I don't know, like chord progressions. Should I talk about that? I don't know. Chomra, thank you so much for the Akadona. Happy early Christmas, Rita. Thank you so much. Thank you so. And if you celebrate Christmas, Chomra, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas as well. Oh my gosh. Thank you so. I put my Christmas tree up. For those who don't follow me on Twitter, yesterday I had a day off because I had rehearsal, and I put some Christmas decoration up. I put my tree up, put my ornaments up, and some ribbons and bows. Yeah. Rita's one of the cool professors that lets people call her by her first name. Yup, exactly. Professor Rita, the cool teacher. Thank you again so much, Chalman. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Bread hug. Overhog, thank you so much for the dono. Congratulations on 29K! Thank you! And thank you all! Oh my gosh. This is really random, but do you all remember when I hit 20K during a Deltarune stream and then it kept going down? Because I said whenever I hit... it was like, if I sing a song, like, if I hit 20K, I'll sing a song for you all. I started singing and then the number went down and I was like, wait, maybe they don't want to hear me sing. Oh my goodness. Alex, thank you so much for the super chat. Congrats on 29K. And woohoo! Viola! Thank you so much. Just to keep you singing. Oh my gosh, maybe. I didn't think about it that way. Oh my gosh. And Demon Warrior, thank you so much. To 30K Archangels. Here we go! I really think we should do like an endurance stream. Let me see. What should we do? I know we were planning... I actually think I can do the Mass Effect endurance a lot sooner than planned. So we'll do a Mass Effect endurance, but then we'll just do like a general endurance to try to get the 30K. Yeah. It was just a strategy to get you to sing again. Oh my gosh, maybe... Oh my gosh, maybe it was. I didn't even think about that. Oh my goodness. Yeah, let's go back. We're just gonna finish it all in one sitting, I think is the plan. Or two, maybe 2 in one weekend. Who knows? Oh my gosh. But a huge shout out to today's Bread Heist Maestros. Joe, thank you so much for the super chat, by the way. Hope, care, love, and music. Oh, pen lights up, please. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Mass Effect Endurance. We have to finish it before 2022 ends. Mass Effect 1, 2021. Mass Effect 2, 2022. And then we have to start Mass Effect 3 in 2023. That's how it goes. Again, a huge shout out to today's Bread Heist Maestros who we have here today. Maestro, Demon Warrior, Stefan, Envy, Alex, and Chomra. Thank you so much for being today's Maestros. And as always, I'm the idol to give you the wings to fly, Cyber Angel, Rita Kamishiro, at your service. Bye! And be sure to join the raid if you want to continue the fun. I think we're going to be raiding Mia. Yeah. Bye! Does this count as a secret ending? I'm gonna say it counts as a secret ending. Please search up the entire song at some point. It's really wonderful. This is the introduction in Rondo Capriccioso by Camille Saint-Saëns. actually think I have recordings of me and my old quartet playing a revel. So if you want to hear what I sounded like when I was actually good at the viola, let me know. I'd love to talk about it. I don't know. I played it during a Twitter space, but you know how Twitter spaces are. I don't know. Maybe at the next lecture. Who knows?